At the point I'm at now, I would tell the younger version of myself that, this is part of the path I'm on and it's going to turn out okay. And
Yeah.
that you're going to heal from this and grow and be able to help others through
Yeah.
it as a result. So I never would have wished it on myself and obviously not on anybody.
Yes.
And it isn't because someone was so cruel
Yeah.
to us that this happens. It's because of our courage to do the work to heal and to
Yeah.
grow in that process.
Hi, you're listening to Souls to Soul Care for Trauma and AuDHD. Learn to love and care for all your parts from the soles of your feet to your soul. I'm your host, Eve Menezes Cunningham. This is Mighty Maeve. I'm a senior accredited supervisor, senior accredited counsellor, a therapeutic coach where I integrate all my offerings, including psychosynthesis counselling, the trauma-informed therapies, the neurodivergent affirming therapies, AuDHD coaching, yoga, breathwork, meditation, crystals, EFT. I'm a senior yoga teacher and EFT International Advanced EFT practitioner and mentor, and an NLP master practitioner. I'm also the author of 365 Ways to Feel Better, Self-Care Ideas for Embodied Wellbeing, a columnist for Platinum magazine, where I answer readers' questions every month using the Feel, Love, Heal framework that I use in these episodes. So the focus is on self-care, connecting with that highest, wisest, truest part of yourself, and community care, collective care, the Feel, Love, Heal framework. There are new episodes every Tuesday, so you can subscribe wherever you watch or listen. And you can also access older episodes, free resources, more information at soulstosoul.ie/podcast. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoy this episode. So, welcome, Erika Shershun. Thank you so much for joining me. Would you like to say a bit about what you're working on at the moment, your books, and also how you got into this work?
Sure. Yes. Thank you, Eve. It's really wonderful to meet you and to get the opportunity to speak with your audience. I'm currently writing my third book, which is on healing from sexual trauma. This one is for practitioners. The first one is called the Healing Sexual Trauma Workbook, and it's somatic skills to help you feel safe in your body, create boundaries, and live with resilience. And then my second book was the Healing Sexual Trauma Guided Journal, which is similar to the workbook. However, it can be used as a companion book.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more easeful to go through.
Hmm.
And the workbook, a lot of therapists use it with their clients.
Yeah.
So either, they can be standalone or they can be combined.
Yeah. And
And
what's the one you're working on?
the one I'm working on is on the same topic, but for practitioners.
Yeah. Yeah. And how did you get into this work?
So I got into this work from my own struggle to heal from sexual traumas. And I didn't realize until I was in my 40s, but my sexual trauma actually started when I was an infant.
Mm.
And then I had some sexual harassment as a teenager where I was groped in public and things like that. And then I was raped right after my 19th birthday by an acquaintance. And then I had another assault where I was out for a run and I got attacked by a stranger. Um, it it wasn't a successful rape, but it was successful in traumatizing me.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and in that one, I just want to mention I fought. So
Excellent. And
most of
also excellent that you survived the others. Excellent that I played dead because that's how I stayed alive. Um,
exactly,
any response, it's an adaptive survival response. But
exactly.
yeah,
And I wanted to point that out because the majority of people I work with did freeze, and I froze in the one prior to that.
yeah,
And then I froze in another one I went through from an employer
mm,
after that. So, so much shame and guilt is carried by survivors about freezing. And I just wanted to put that out there that just because you froze one time doesn't mean you'll freeze every time.
yeah,
I mean, hopefully there won't be another time, but a lot of people fear that.
yeah,
And and that to learn to trust, as I know you teach, in your nervous system's
yeah,
capacity to take you into what survival response your nervous system determines is going to keep you alive, or most, most likely to benefit you most. Um, so it we don't choose.
mm,
It happens. And in the case where I fought, that was life and death.
yeah,
Um and any assault can turn into that.
mm,
So I think it's so important for us to trust that our
yeah,
nervous system has a wisdom that happens so immediately
yeah,
before we can even determine what we want to do.
yeah,
So with our brain, so it's really important to know that your body is going to do the best thing for you in the moment.
yeah, absolutely. And where can people find your books and you online?
So my books are available at all the big publishers, all the big, I mean, not publishers, I'm sorry, at
Books.
all the big booksellers.
Hmm.
So, um, as well as a lot of smaller boutique
Yeah,
bookstores. And online, they can find me at two places. One is I have a website for the books called healingsexualtrauma.com.
hmm,
And then my therapy website is Erika Shershun therapy.com, or feltsenseresonance.com will take you to the same
yeah,
place. But in going through those traumas, I when I could afford to, I sought healing, and I
yeah,
went through 20 years of therapy and didn't heal.
yeah,
And so that's what led me to write the books, because the therapy was talk therapy.
yeah,
It was before internet, so I didn't
mm,
know about somatic work until 17 years in.
hmm,
And at that point, I my symptoms had worsened,
mm,
and I was in a class for body work called a type of body work called trigger point therapy. So it's just very subtle touch. And the instructor asked to demonstrate on me because he knew I'd had a lot of issues with my neck.
yeah,
And he was a chiropractor, so he worked with me and he knew. So I thought, oh, this is a great opportunity, but the word no came out of my mouth.
okay, brilliant,
Um, and then someone else stepped up, and the man who volunteered, had also had a life-threatening
yeah,
attack on his neck.
hmm,
And I went back to practice with my partner, and I couldn't feel anything.
yeah,
I went numb, and I called the instructor over, and he said, why don't you take a break, go to the
yeah,
other room. He understood what was happening, but I didn't. And I just got flooded. I started
hmm,
having flashbacks, and I was dissociating, but I
yeah,
didn't know about these things then. And like, the therapist hadn't told me about these things.
yeah,
They hadn't given me any tools to work with any of this. Um, so that's when I realized I've got to take this healing into my own hands. And also when I got home that night, I was again like just overcome with um, the realizing how much these traumas had impacted every aspect of my life.
Yeah.
It was just devastating. So much grief came up with that realization. But that is when I decided to go to grad school
Mm.
and train in therapy myself. And um, so then I ended up piecing together things from different modalities that I found that helped me and things I read.
Yeah.
And it was through piecing together all of these different things that I finally healed.
Mm.
And when I say healing, I just want to be clear, what I'm talking about is like no longer getting triggered
Yeah.
by the trauma, being
Mm.
able to talk about it like I am
Yeah.
now without, breaking
Yeah.
down. Not that there's anything wrong with breaking
No.
down, but if you don't want to,
Hmm.
it's nice to have choice, right? So,
Yeah.
so it, and it reduces all the symptoms,
Mm.
so, or eliminates a lot of them. Um, so there's also so much to say about symptoms, but anyway, I just want to pause and give you a moment to.
And thank you so much, because the podcast is Souls to Soul Care for Trauma and AuDHD, and thank you for talking specifics, and also that healing isn't linear. But what you're saying, it's so, I'm hoping people will find your work really helpful, and I'm really looking forward to finding out what you do on an ongoing basis. It's how I built my practice. Everything I trained in was to save myself. And I think with interpersonal trauma, especially, we find it so hard to trust other people. So I trained in things rather than put myself in other people's hands. And eventually it was like, oh, and then it was like kind of building a practice that I love, building work that I love. But it started out just, I remember saying to my crystal therapy training, that was the first thing I trained in. I was having I had endometriosis. I'm postmenopausal now, so I don't have it anymore. But I think that was the last time I was like actively suicidal, in my 20s. And I remember being terrified of the idea of reincarnation, that I'd have to go through childhood and teenage and early 20s again. And she was talking to me about like grounding. This was long before I then did the like trauma informed yoga and things like that. And of course, grounding, resourcing, it's so important. But looking back, I mean, I was going to ask you at the end, but I'll ask you before asking about the others. What advice do you wish you could send to a younger version of yourself?
Um, so this will be hard for people who have not had the opportunity to heal,
Mm.
probably to hear.
Yet.
Um, but at the point I'm at now, I would
Hmm.
tell the younger version of myself that, this is part of the path I'm on and it's going to turn out okay. And
Yeah.
that you're going to heal from this and grow and be able to help others through
Yeah.
it as a result. So I never would have wished it on myself and obviously not on anybody.
Yes.
And it isn't because someone was so cruel
Yeah.
to us that this happens. It's because of our courage to do the work to heal and to
Yeah.
grow in that process. And
Yeah.
so much growth happens in that process. And so much with the clients I work with, so much other work comes into it. They decide, they want to work on other things like relational traumas from their childhood or
Yeah.
from other times of their life as well. So then they get this flow of healing going, and
Absolutely.
it's just
Yeah.
really transformational.
I remember feeling kind of at an early point in my trauma recovery, feeling rage at having been raised Catholic and certain other things in my upbringing, that it made me feel like I'd been raised to be prey. It was, and like, I think people are more aware now about not having children hug relatives they don't want to hug, or all sorts of things like that. But I think there's so much healing and it's all interconnected, and it's not. But I want to ask about like your ideal and actual self-care in terms of, so I have a framework I developed, feel, love, heal. So the feel bit is the kind of the regulating, the things we can do when we have the bandwidth to feel better. So it might be going for a bike ride, or like something to move out your body, some sort of exercise, or cooking something nourishing, or whatever it might be. The love part is that knowing, like you just said, like your post-traumatic growth is down to you. It's not like, oh, thanks to the trauma, it's you surviving the trauma, but everyone being whole, everyone being part of the divine, part of nature, and that inherent wholeness, that connection with the miraculous self. And then the heal bit is the turning what hurts your heart into action, that collective care, the co-regulation. So where you find community as well as how you hold space for others. So I realize this is like quite wordy, so I'll go through it. Like, initially, the feel bit. If you had all the time in the world, in an ideal world, what would you be doing for yourself on a daily basis or on a regular basis in terms of helping yourself feel better?
So it's kind of a long list, but I would like to, and I do this some days, but in all honesty, I don't fit it in every day. But there's a few energy
Yeah.
practices. So also, I have a practice that's available on my website. The first chapter of the Healing Sexual Trauma Workbook is available for free to download.
So there'll
And
be
this,
a link in the show notes if you
yeah,
want to send that. Yeah.
and this exercise is at the end of the chapter, but it explains leading up to it why you do each piece of it. So that's called coming into safety or presence. And a piece of that that is especially important is called orienting.
Hmm.
So if we have time, we'll talk more about that.
Hmm.
But I would do a grounding practice every day. My favorite one is toe tapping, which is also in that chapter.
Hmm.
And there's also a free download on called The Many Ways to Ground.
Uh-huh.
Uh, so just there's so many options of how to ground. So then I would do uh, relatively new to me practice called mind gems. It's
Okay.
also an energy practice, and that I'll give a link for a therapist or psychologist whose website you can download the mind gems for free on, that you can have in the show notes. And it's, well, I'll show you. It looks like this. There's 12 of them. So
Okay.
they're just these
And is that
little,
a butterfly hug at the bottom
it is,
in the
yeah,
middle?
it
Mm.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just hold that butterfly hug, you hold it for 12 seconds and then you cross over
Hmm.
and do it on the other side for 12 seconds. And this one's for balance, for storing balance. But there's a few here that are especially good for trauma. Like there's one that clears fear, there's one for anger, there's one for clearing negative emotions, which
Hmm.
actually is you cone your fingers and you put your right in the mid forehead and then cross over. And again, you just hold that one for 12 seconds on each side. So,
Okay.
then you cross over, put the other wrist on top.
And for people who aren't watching, we're demonstrating, as in
Yeah.
Erika's demonstrating, I'm attempting to follow along.
Yeah, it's really simple and there's 12 of them and they're meant to be a daily practice. You can do them really quickly, but then you can also do one in the moment. There's one that clears remembrance of what has traumatized you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I like these. And then also there's Donna Eden's work that she
Yep.
has the 5 minute energy tune-up. I would
Uh-huh.
do that every day. She says it's about getting the energy flowing
Yeah.
body in the way that is most healthy and like life affirming for you.
Yeah.
So so those I would do those things. It only takes about 15 minutes to do all of that. And
Brilliant.
then I would also do some yoga stretching and some running, working out, and I would get out in nature for self-care. And then I just love learning new things. So I would want to put some of that in there as well. So time to read or listen to a good podcast or, in
Yeah.
whatever form.
And if you only had the time for one thing, what would be the most important thing for you to start your day with or include in the day?
I would say the toe tapping.
Okay. Do you want to say a bit more about that?
So the reason I say that is because when I was in grad school and I was diagnosed with PTSD and I was having flashbacks um, and be easily triggered,
Yeah.
it was the first thing that started to help me. I found it in a book. It's from traditional Chinese medicine, but it was in a book from a Western doctor who was
Hmm.
also trained in Eastern medicine. And it's the first thing that gave me hope.
Okay. I love
Uh,
it. Yeah.
because my symptoms started to gradually lessen
Yeah.
in intensity, in duration, and in frequency. So, within a month, I
Mm.
saw a really positive change happening. So now I don't need it for that. I haven't had symptoms in years. I don't
Mm.
have PTSD, and haven't had it in years. However, we still need that
Yeah.
grounding. It helps maintain our health.
Mhm.
So it's one of my favorites to do, especially if you feel anxiety, if you feel
Mhm.
nervous, worry, when it's not trauma responses
Yeah.
that you're trying to help with. So you do it for 5 minutes once or twice a day. You can also go 10 minutes if you have the time. And you simply lie down and tap your big toes together. So your heels are a little bit apart, but you just get this rhythm going where you're tapping your toes. And it feels good. It tends to take the energy where it needs to go. So you can do it if you're tired, you can do it and still go to sleep. But I also would do it when I had almost no energy, but also no time to go for a run.
Yeah.
And I, to help motivate me, I would do that and I would
Yeah.
feel energized to run. So,
I recently rebranded from the Feel Better Every Day to Soul Care for Trauma and AuDHD. And the reason I chose Souls is because my approach is so grounded and it's like a fully embodied approach. But I'm 50 and my entire life I've really struggled with feet. So, like throughout my yoga training, all the classes I used to go to when I was younger, now I wear socks. But I hated the idea of my nose being on the mat where my feet had been. And then when other people's feet, like now I know I have autism as well, but sensory differences. But it was like choosing that name, it's like I've started treating my feet much better. I've always loved being like barefoot in the water, in the sea, or like walking barefoot on grass or sand, or but actually touching my feet. I've started taking water wipes to yoga. So
mm,
I accidentally walked in a puddle last week and it was like, wet socks or bare feet. And
mm,
I did it, and my little feet, they were like, we're free. So if we'd spoken a week and a half ago, I'd have been like, oh, toe tapping. Whereas now it's like I can almost hear my little toe saying, we want to try this. And I'm just sharing that strange. But I know a lot of people do have sensory issues. And also, I think there's something, you were talking about dissociation. I think there's something around the feet specifically, like, I mean, you're working with the base chakra, it's to do with security, it's to do, I'm astonished. I thought I have done so much healing over the decades, but this really feels like a deeper, like, loving and caring for all my parts, including my feet.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to trying that.
I think it'll be really good for and healing for your
Yeah,
feet.
yeah.
Um, I don't know if you want to keep this in, but I muscle test and I muscle
Okay.
test. We were talking about that, and I
Yeah.
got that it's an inherited trauma for your feet.
For me, for my feet,
Yeah.
how, okay, okay. Interesting, thank you.
Yeah.
And so that is fantastic. Thank you very much. And there'll be links in the show notes. In terms of the love part of the framework, so what helps you, what practices help you, or what do you do to connect with that highest, wisest, truest part of yourself, to remember to love and accept your whole self and just that you're part of the divine?
Well, there was a time when I made an effort to work on self-compassion,
Mhm.
and that is something that is like one of the fundamental exercises I ask clients to do.
Yeah,
It's really important, and a lot of people have what in Bradley Nelson, who came up with emotion code, calls a heart wall. I had a vivid image of it on myself before I was aware of him in
mm,
Hartwell, and saw it as a shield that was had cracks in it
mm,
while I was going through my healing. Um, and light was coming through where some of the pieces had chipped away.
yeah,
Uh, but I could feel there's this shield around my heart. And so it's very common for people who've survived trauma,
mhm,
um, which is so many of us, that when we were infants or young children, we constricted around our heart center
yeah,
because it was one of the only things we could do to try to protect ourselves,
yeah,
especially an infant. Um, so, we constrict there, and according to Bradley Nelson, the energy gets trapped there, emotions get trapped there. Um, and it makes it very hard to take in compassion from others to
yeah,
receive, but also to receive it from yourself. So it's a process of
mhm,
practice in
yeah,
working with that. I I worked with one person where the first time they tried to give themselves compassion
yeah,
with me there, they collapsed on the floor in tears
yeah,
because realized it wasn't possible. And to her credit, she tried every day for about 3 months. And finally, one day she came into my office and had this big smile on her face. And she said she finally took it in.
yeah,
And it was this huge turning point in our work. So I used to have to, effort to do that. And then it just became like natural.
yeah,
Uh, have to really think about it anymore unless I catch myself being really hard on myself.
yeah,
It's effort again, I mean, I say effort, but it's not hard or anything. It's quite easy now. So that and just my connection to um, something greater than our individual selves
yeah,
really nourishes my heart
yeah. What helps you do that?
to connect with something greater than
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
Um, well, I'm trained in Reiki. I'm Reiki um, attuned,
Yeah.
and that has helped. I just connect pretty directly and
Yeah.
quickly. Another thing that has helped is emotion code. So I trained in that about 5 years ago, and so that is an important part of my work still now.
Mm.
I cleared so many on myself.
Yeah.
Already gotten past the PTSD, but I realized there's still emotions.
Yeah.
So I use EMDR in my work also,
Mm-hmm.
and the EMDR is wonderful at integrating and creating a memory reconsolidation so that the negative beliefs we take in about ourselves at a time of a traumatic experience, which is usually amounts to self-blame or self-rejection of some sort. So we take in this belief on a deep subconscious level, and those are not easy to overcome. Like you can't just think your way out of them. And EMDR creates the memory reconsolidation. So when the integration of the trauma takes place, the new belief emerges
Mm.
organically. And then we install that if we're doing EMDR in the way it was,
Yeah.
initially conceived. So that's life changing. However, EMDR doesn't tend to release trapped emotions.
Yeah.
So then I also have that component of my work. So I call it just the healing triad, those three
Yeah.
elements. And
Yeah.
so in doing that, I've become a much clearer like
Yeah.
vessel, so to speak, in having released so many on myself. According to Nelson, the average adult has about 300 trapped emotions.
Yeah.
I had way more than that.
Yeah.
Way, but now if I get like if something angers me,
Mm-hmm.
if I just immediately do emotion code on myself, it goes away immediately.
Yeah.
Like incredible. The transition is so quick. Um, so that I think has helped my connection
Yeah.
to spirituality source, however your audience wants to view it.
And I think part of that, like I'm thinking, EFT is one of the things I do, and it's the self-empathy element. It's
Mm.
like even telling yourself you're going to do some emotion code on yourself. It's like you deserve to heal, you deserve to, and that alone, then I think helps. There's so much out there, and I'm really grateful for the complexity of what you're sharing. I'm remembering, like, I mean, we can say healing isn't linear, we can say life is messy, we can say all these things, but when we're going through it, it can feel so hopeless and so terrifying. And even when we want to heal, like I remember early on in my crystal therapy training, it was over 3 years, like 2001 was my first experience meditating. I thought I was having a heart attack. And my tutor was like, "Oh no, your heart chakra's opening." And I was like, "I don't want it to open." Like, leave it shut. And what you're saying, it's like, yeah, it was like, on the surface, I was very open and loving, but it was very, and I hadn't wanted to disturb the others in the group by saying I thought I was having a heart attack.
Well,
But it was like spiritual crisis, healing crisis after healing crisis, and just trying to ground, and hope, and doing more and more trainings and more. Like, it's like trying to piece together, how am I going to get through this? How am I going to, like, it felt worse in my 20s than it had as a child because I hadn't understood it almost. And also, I was sober from 2001. So it was having to deal with it then, like all without the self-medicating. but I really appreciate what you're saying about the complexity, because it's not, I think it gets presented as like before and after pictures, and it's not, it's messy, but it's so worth it.
Yes, it is. It's so worth it. And everyone I
Yeah,
work with feels that way
yeah,
when you get to that point. And
yeah.
it doesn't have to take 20 years. I mean,
No, yeah,
I see people clearing in 1 year, two
yeah,
years. If it's a really
yeah,
intense, complex CPTSD with a bit some other, big T traumas, it can be 3 years, but um, oh, so many people have really great outcomes within a year.
mm,
So, but what you're talking about, I just want to point out, you're talking in part about self-agency, like
yeah.
choosing to do EFT, which is great, or
Whatever it is
motion
you're
code, or
choosing to do.
whatever it is,
Yeah,
right? And people can train to do these
yeah,
things, the EFT or the emotion code themselves. Like you can buy a book on emotion code if you can't afford to take the training and learn it from the book. Um, so, it's well worth
yeah,
investing in. Um, and same with EFT.
yeah,
What I found with EFT is like it's helpful for some people and not as
yeah,
helpful for others, is what I
yeah,
found. It is definitely extremely helpful for some people. Um, and so, but what we're really talking about here is self-agency.
yeah,
So when we've been through something traumatic, choice was robbed from us.
yeah,
Even if it's a natural disaster or something like that,
yeah.
it doesn't have to be sexual trauma.
No.
Uh, any kind of big trauma, choice was taken from us,
Hmm.
which is why we were victims, right?
Yeah,
But we were victims. We're not a victim right now, unless we're still being, unless we're like in an abusive relationship or something along those lines. But most of the people who come to see me are not victims
yeah,
currently. Um, but they might feel like it because their trauma is so
yeah,
present. And what is so important is to start to introduce choice and to
yeah,
understand that having that choice brings about self-agency and helps to start to take you out of feeling like a victim. And that's how we work with polyvagal theory, right?
yeah.
Like all about choice. You have a choice. You don't get to choose which state your nervous system took you into, but you get to choose what steps to take to come out of
Get back
it.
into ventral
And you
vagal.
have, yeah, and you have choice about how quickly you're going to come out of it. Like if you don't want to do anything and you just want to ride it out, that's a choice. But you can also choose to do these practices and take steps to move out of it, which most people want to do. And your kitty is so pretty.
She
Um,
had 6 teeth removed a couple of weeks ago. She was the
oh,
mammy to the ferals, and
oh,
I went from one rescue to 11 overnight a few years ago, and she
oh,
had her kittens on my back doorstep, and I had a mental health crisis. It's like I'm not like I can't deal with these kittens, and my partner's like,
oh,
your best is good enough, and I learned how to like trap, neuter, and release, and I got the kittens socialized and adopted out, but I then adopted her.
oh,
Um, but yeah, she was part of the inspiration for my polyvagal pairs approach
oh,
using.
cute.
So I use like pair histories to help describe the different vagal states and encourage people to find their own names for them, and like just using their like the rescue cat stories to help understand adaptive survival responses and things like that. And
I
yeah.
love it. That's great.
I think the cats really help me in terms of the love part, because a beloved rescue cat knows that it's worthy of all good things. And humans, we just need to get out of our own way and remember that and move towards what feels good and away from what doesn't. But you've spoken a bit already about kind of community, like trainings you've done working with clients. Can you say a bit about what helps you co-regulate, what helps you like with the collective care, what like I mean the fact that you've created your practice to support others, like that post-traumatic growth, and that kind of Persephone energy around using like you being a guide then for others through their darkness. Um, where do you find holding for yourself as well as how you hold others? Would you like to say a bit about like ideal and actual collective care?
Well, um, I guess I'm not sure if this is what you're sort of asking, but for me personally, my cat, one of my cats especially, but both of them can be very regulating if I, am feeling a disconnection.
Yeah.
But some of the tools for co-regulation that are helpful for
Yeah,
people, it always depends on the moment, like what's coming
absolutely.
up for you, who you're
Yeah.
with, I mean, it has to be someone you feel trust with, but
Yeah.
just making eye contact,
Hmm.
holding a hand, like touch contact, full body hugs are self-regulating. So if you're with someone you feel close enough to have that kind of contact with,
Mm.
that's a wonderful way. Even having a picture of someone you love or a pet you love,
Yeah.
but if it's someone a human, like a picture of them smiling,
Hmm.
especially on your phone, is an excellent way to help you with co-regulation when you don't have someone else there. So
And what helps you most?
I I'm honestly, I had to do so much on my own
Yeah.
in my feeling
Yeah.
that it's more like the cat,
Amazing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
and the tools. So
Yeah.
the tools of
Yeah.
self-regulation,
Yeah.
but co-regulation is wonderful. I wasn't partnered up while I was going through that,
Yeah.
so I didn't have that.
Yeah.
Uh, I have a partner now,
Yeah.
and just some of the things I just named
Yeah.
help that.
Yeah. I want to say it's been an absolute delight talking to you, and I'm also sorry for all you've been through. So, like, delight sounds bad, but also it is a delight because I'm so grateful for the work you're doing, and there'll be links in the show notes so people can access that. Um, but I think there is so much hope. We have access to so much wisdom from around the world and through the ages, and I know things are dire in so many ways, but like you've talked about so many things today, there are so many. I just hope that people watching or listening will think about what resonates for them and how they can reach out, how they can begin the process or restart or just continue. But I just want to thank you.
Oh, it's been my pleasure to talk with you, get to know you a bit,
Yeah,
and just to be here and to get to connect with your audience a bit.
yeah,
Uh, and I honestly feel like my past is in my past. It
yeah,
doesn't bother me in any way anymore. So,
yeah,
though you said you're sorry, I appreciate that, but I'm
yeah.
fine. I'm
Yeah,
in a really
no, I
good.
don't mean like no, I know what you mean, but it is it's the both and, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
the like no one should go through any like all children, all babies, all adults should be safe, welcome and loved and able to thrive and like protected and cared for and cherished. But
yes,
at the same time, thank goodness for all the ways in which we can heal. And yeah,
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
In a perfect world, that would be
yeah.
the case, but we're unfortunately
Mm.
not anywhere near that at this point.
Well, thanks again. And do you want to say again where people can find you? Although the links will be in the show notes.
Yeah, I just want to not end on such a glib note, but to say that, but we're in a better place for our ability to heal than we've ever been. And
Yeah.
like people are making amazing strides, and
Yeah.
just the growth of so many people is pretty incredible. It's an amazing thing to see. So yeah, they can find me again at healingsexualtrauma.com,
Yeah.
or Erika Shershun, which is well, it's Erika with a K, ErikaShershun therapy.com.
Yeah. Thanks a million. Really appreciate. It's lovely to meet you, and thanks for all you do.
Thanks. You too. You too. Thank you.
Before you get on with something else, I'm going to encourage you to pause for a moment and scan your whole being from the soles of your feet to your soul and the crown of your head, and notice what you're aware of. Notice any physical sensations, pleasant, unpleasant, warmth, tingly, whatever it may be. Just being curious about what you're feeling as you've listened to this episode. Making a note, asking what those sensations might be trying to help you with, what you might benefit from doing for your body right now. Being aware of your thoughts, noticing any feelings that feel more prominent as a result of listening to today, and any intuitions, any insights, anything that you can actually schedule in to ground and improve your life in some way. So let me know how you get on. Make a note, doodle, journal, whatever feels good for you. And thank you for listening. This episode, like all of them, was produced by me, your host, Eve Menezes Cunningham, and I look forward to sharing more next week. You can find out more, access old episodes and free resources and more information at soulstosoulcare.ie/podcast. See you next week.